I'll start because there was one thing that you said. I maybe need clarification. I actually have two questions, but just one thing for clarification. You said there was going to be a new data mining center built in, you said Ohio, but you also said the desert of Ohio, and I'm not aware of any desert in Ohio. So it's either it could be in a state with a desert in it, or it could be in Ohio. I don't think there's a desert in Ohio. That's not important. I just want to get that clarified in case somebody on the internets, on the interwebs was like, you've never been to Ohio, we don't have deserts in Ohio.
Yeah, I'll look into it exactly, but there is one being set up as we speak, and it is in the middle of nowhere in America, and
probably in the Southwest. There are lots of deserts and middles of nowheres. Ohio doesn't exactly. It's farmland, but there are still lots of cities in.
What I've done is I've actually prepared a whole load of links for you, which has that information in there, which I'll post on the forum, where you can look for yourself and find out where exactly it is.
Okay, well that's fine. That's great.
Okay.
Just for that clarification, my question was: have you heard anything like in the United States, our new passports have an RFID chip, a radio frequency identification chip inside. So every time we pass a border, that information is stored and sent to the United States so they can track, see if I've gone to, Jordan and Lebanon and these kind of places, and I come back and they say, so where did you go? And I was like, the Bahamas, They'll be like, well, no, that's not what it says here. I think there are some other countries that also have that ID chip now. The UK does, and I think it's probably going to eventually be most countries. But beyond that, you were talking about wearable kind of thing, either implanted or whatnot. But have you heard anything about it maybe being put into, because it would have to be something that would be required, right? Have you heard about it being put into like just simple ID cards or driver's licenses or something like that? Because most people don't carry their passports.
Yeah, passports definitely. I'm assuming that they're going to try and roll this technology and incorporate it into ID cards and stuff. But I haven't heard any. I've only heard it in passports, and they have them in UK, and like you say, I think they've had them in America. But the trend is that, like I say, the trend is to have wearable implanted wireless IC. So you'll have these in the future. They're saying you'll have these actually implanted inside you, which is, I think, is something we should protest against and just refuse, quite blank out, because there's no need for anyone to track you or me or you or any of you. Okay, you're free individuals. You don't have to be tracked. And you're not terrorists, and that's about it.
Okay, other questions? Then I'll ask another one. Let me see. Newest legislation from a week ago. It's not exact. It's along the line of civil liberties, but it's a little bit different. It's if you are arrested for any crime. Whether you are charged with a crime or you're charged with a crime, you're arrested, whether a judge finds you guilty of the crime or not, you have to be maybe taken to jail or taken to a holding facility where then you wait for trial or something like that, or you wait a couple days to see the judge, or you wait a day or whatever. The new legislation is that, and this was passed by the Supreme Court, that it's like not exactly mandatory strip searches, but it can pretty much go that way. Anyone who's arrested can be strip searched before they're put into the holding cell, whether you're guilty or not.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely, look, I'm just looking at there's new laws coming up all the time. I mean, I haven't even started to talk about the TSA, like the Transport Security Agency, who you either walk through a naked body scanner, which is demeaning enough, or if you don't refuse that, you'll need to have your genitals searched. And I've given you links about that. with regard to your statement, yes, you can now be arrested much more easily in America without probable cause, which is a violation of the Civil Rights Fourth Amendment. And you can be detained.
Strip searched.
You can be strip searched now. And this is all demeaning. All of this is there to, it's a demeaning on your upstanding nature. I would say that is a violation. You see, unless there's probable cause that you're hiding something, there's no need to go through this, in my opinion. Let's even look in the airports. It's under their rationale, they would say, well, we're going to strip search you or we're going to look at your genitals because you might be wanting to blow up 911. Well, you can't shove anything up your bottom that's going to blow up 2 buildings, okay? Or even an aeroplane. It's just not going to happen. I would argue the real reason that is to demean people, to get them submissive to authoritarian rule, and that's just a symptom of a democracy falling into kind of a fascist state.
Okay, have other questions?
You were talking about airport security, and so since 2009, I've been to the airports of 3 continents, like Europeans, Asians, Americans, and I personally never had any violation of human rights or during the security. So I don't know what besides strip search or what are the other violations? Is the scanner the body scanner, is it radiation?
Did you go to America?
Yeah, I lived one.
When did you go?
2009.
I think that was before the body scanners were put in. Was it?
Yeah.
They've been quite recent, definitely last 2 years. You might have just missed it or not realised that you're walking through a naked body scanner. Yes, there's issues with radiation related to these devices. But let's say you knew that was a naked body scanner and you said, I don't want to walk through it, then you will be asked to have a genital search.
Yeah, but why wouldn't I want to go through it? Because there's radiation. Is it dangerous to is it known fact that there's radiation?
Well, there's health risks as well related to radiation, but the fact is that you can be seen naked. And there's been reported abuse of the TSA officials, getting a nice, good-looking woman who's to go through a couple of times.
Oh, that's why I didn't have a problem.
And is it necessary? I don't think so. The Israelis, they don't have those, but they have a much bigger, let's say, terrorist threat. But they do it, and the Canadians, they do it in a different way. They'll look on the cameras and they'll see who's suspicious, and they'll have guys on the airport floors to pull out and just check.
But the purpose of body scanner is to see if you're carrying any dangerous material with you, any explosive and stuff. And you have and then you said you have hot girls going and then the workers are keeping those pictures and stuff. That's individual. There's not a conspiracy theory to keep those photos and post those are individual mistakes. So the point of the scanners are for us to be more safe. So
but you've got that balance between, there's this whole balance between increased security in a more complex world where threats are more complex and your civil liberties. And I would argue that due to the fact that there's been so few terrorist threats before the time that the scanners were brought in, like I say, you've got 1 in 1,300,000 chances dying from the terrorists in the States, then they're just not necessary. I mean, especially for people who don't want to be seen naked.
Right, and I think another issue is that if you are in a wheelchair, you can't go through the body scanner, you have to be patted down. So that's like old people and...
Yeah. I saw a video of kids, like 5-year-olds, being patted down until they're not terrorists. Osama bin Laden isn't down there, you know. It's just not there. But like you say, you have got a good point, because there is a need for security, but we need to make sure that doesn't impinge on and affect people's or violate people's dignity and human rights.
Is there a losing battle with civil liberties though, that we have to go with it, we can't actually stop it? As if technology is advancing so quickly and information is disseminated so easily, that how can we ever stop that? It's almost like we have to go with it, and then we have to sort of shape it once we're with it, that we're not abused by it, if that makes sense.
I agree with you in the fact that technology is a kind of it's a rolling ball, like it's going down a mountain and it's just getting faster and faster and more difficult for us to control. But we still got to try, and we still got to say, if you value something and you have a civil liberty, then you have a right to say, I don't want that, you know, and I'm not going to accept that, you know. And I think that no matter how sophisticated technology gets, civil liberties, freedom of speech, freedom to assemble, freedom to petition the government, freedom to be free from searches, unwarranted, freedom for privacy, these are just rights that we have. And it's going to be more difficult to protect them, but we still got to try. And I think that's just about being educated as to what some of these new laws and acts, amendments that have the ability to do. You know, there's a success story, SOPA and people, they were shut down because people were like, no, we're not going to have this. But they'll try again with another one, and we just say no again. And you've got to keep saying no. Enough people say no, and you can preserve it. You think, and it might look as if I don't like America, or the opposite is true. I love America, and I love the fact that it's built on these civil rights. And I think it's a damn shame what's happening at the moment.
Do you have other questions?
Yeah, I want to go a little theoretical. I don't know if you know, like in the political theory, there is one theory called social contract. Like people used to live in a kind of state of nature without laws, without government, and then because this state became so already very unbearable, so they made a contract. They decided to create the society, to put a government or ruler or whatever. They gave up some of their rights, like the right to kill the other one or to rob from the other one, and they gave those rights to the government. So if someone, you know what I'm getting, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So the criminal laws, for example, what is a crime? Is something that before in the state nature was allowed, but now when the society is created, it becomes a crime, right? Murder, robbery, and everything. And if someone steals from you, you don't have the right to punish him, but you have to appeal to the higher authorities for the person to be punished, right?
Yeah.
So what if this situation is also seen as a kind of social contract? I mean, is there a theoretical possibility that the citizens in the United States, let's say, can make now a new contract to give up their rights, to allow their bodies to be seen by other people naked, in order to be safer, to have safer lives?
Yeah.
Is there this kind of possible interpretation for this situation?
Well, that's of course up to us. I mean, to see is it acceptable or not. At the moment, it seems like it is acceptable, and or people don't like it, but they accept it. And like I say, there's always this balance between asking a body to protect you, like you say, from someone killing you, then, look, if you try and kill me, you get into trouble. And to maintaining your civil liberties. And it's no easy, I don't think it's a balancing act. And there's no easy answers. But sure enough, if you give up too much, you give up, what you're doing is you're giving up your own power, you see. You're giving up something of your decision. And or you're letting people take that away from you. But we all have the power to make decisions, and accepting things when someone's pushing something on you, you can just accept it as, oh, well, I've got my own life to lead, or you can say no, basically, and see what happens. And enough people say no, sure enough, it's gonna, governments, it's not the government's fault. If you get, governments or any big body, the more power they have, the more power they want. It's just a natural thing, I think. You give people enough power, and then they're going to want more power, and then they will take advantage. I don't think you can blame them. I think we've just got to take a little bit of our own responsibility as people on this planet who were born on this planet to work out who we are and what we stand for.
More questions? Okay, I wanted to comment. I don't know if it was 2005 or 2006. I read a newspaper article. Actually, it was an editorial in one of the major newspapers in the United States, New York possibly. This was just after part of the law went into effect that said you could not bring liquids over 100 milliliters into the boarding gate or onto the airplane. So there's a bunch of different ways just that issue can go, from Coca-Cola winning the contract to produce all of the 100 milliliter throwaway containers of water that's like not even enough water. But sorry, a different direction. So this guy wrote this article that said, now if you're a terrorist and it's your idea to use a liquid explosive, you can put your liquid explosive in your your carry-on baggage. You put your liquid explosive in your carry-on baggage in your backpack or whatever. You throw your backpack down on the x-ray machine and it goes through and they catch it. And they go, I'm sorry, sir, you have a liquid here. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to drink that or whatever. Throw it in the bin and you're on the plane, right? And you go.
Yeah.
And you didn't get arrested. And you can just keep trying and trying and trying until you succeed. Because actually, personally, I've had times where in Hong Kong they don't let me on with a tube of toothpaste, a full tube of toothpaste. But for some other reasons, I've gone through with full tubes of toothpaste, or whatever the case is, something more than 100 milliliters. Can you comment on that? On about just the fact that it may or may not be possible to even stop the terrorists with the new technology?
Yeah, I mean, it's just been proven, I think, you can see a link where that new technology, that naked body scanner, is actually faulty. Because you can see the link where the guy brings in some kind of metal, it's a fake metal thing that looks like gun, because body scan only picks up black, so it sees metal things as black, but if you wear black underneath, it won't see it. So they're faulty anyway. And like you say, things can get through anyway. A determined terrorist is going to cause problems wherever that person is, But I would argue from statistics that they're a threat, but they're no more a threat than you getting killed by a bee sting or falling down out of bed and killing yourself. It's just statistically not that likely. So the media would have it you believe that it's a big threat, but don't believe them. Look at the statistics.
More questions?
Yeah, I have a question. I'm familiar with like events in Moscow airport, where it was in Moscow, right? Where the people that blew up, at the airport, but not like right before the gate, where
Outside of the airport?
no, on the at the end, like the
Before boarding or something.
yeah, before boarding,
Yeah.
at the basically at the entrance of the airport.
Yeah.
And there was like maybe 16, 17 people died in explosions.
That was a smaller airport, right?
No, this was the bigger.
That was in Moscow?
In Moscow, there are Moscow, there are many airports, like two main airports.
Yeah.
The Minevo is the bigger one.
Yeah.
Not sure anything
And
was another.
it was like in the airport, but still there was no any control for the passengers. It was just the area of like the first thought so they had like scanners
Yeah.
like on the gates and stuff. So when I heard that, the first thought I had why they didn't put body scanners on the entrance of the airport?
Okay.
So I think I would give up for example, if they asked me now if I could go back in time, they asked me can I would you be body scanned if those people can survive? I would say yeah, no problem. I don't.
Fair enough. Yeah.
So,
But
so
I mean,
it's not a big threat, but the terrorists, but still there is, and I think it's kind of I'm studying statistics and computer science, a lot of math. So statistically, you can compare anything to anything. That's kind of
yeah.
ridiculous to compare, but because
So you're saying he didn't get picked up by a scanner, or did get picked up?
no,
or-
it didn't because you
Didn't have to scan.
yeah.
They didn't have to scan, basically.
But I would
It was
say
just
even
that
if they had a naked body scanner, it might not get picked up anyway for the reason I just said. They're faulty. I think you look at the best defence, I guess, would be you don't necessarily need them. You need. I mean, look at the Israelis. They've got the best track record. They don't use them. The reason why I don't use them is because they've got cameras, and then they're looking carefully. They have trained people to look on the floor and upstairs, and they can just spot you.
But you are talking about Israelis. First, I think that you shouldn't really believe so much that they don't have it.
Yes.
Israel never admitted that they have, for example, a nuclear weapon, and they certainly do have the nuclear weapon.
Yeah.
So the same is about all these security measures. They would never admit that they violated any rights. But in the end, you find that they violated most of the rights they could violate.
Right.
So this is another thing.
Good point.
So this is
Yeah.
this is Marco said that statistics. I don't have any idea about that, but I have some friends who are working in those kind of companies, so making just making this what is that social opinion, this surveys and something, and they say we can get any result we want. This is just how you set up, all this, factors, vectors, and so on. You can get whatever you want. Actually, you can just on the same database you can get totally different results.
Sure, you can manipulate stuff.
Yes, and they're doing it all the time.
And they do, but it's very difficult to manipulate. I mean, the fact that really not that many people have died since 1980 to this present day from terrorists. It's just not that high. It's the same as you can make a statement. I'm not sort of saying, this person didn't die, or even if you had people who might have died from terrorists, but probably more likely they didn't, and you include them, it's still very low. So I think it's totally overplayed. It's been used as a way to say, problem, reaction, solution. Hey, here's the problem, it's terrorist. Reaction, we'll protect you. Reaction, people get scared. Solution, we'll give you the solution. And that would be the...
You made a good point, just like, I think it's my personal experience, or maybe my sister's experience, and I used to live in Beijing, when there was all this stuff with this what is that flu, bird flu and all this stuff, they actually created, especially in China, and I was flying extensively around China at that time, and they created some kind of totally paranoid situation, and the people were so scared of that bird flu and so on, and there was so many. When you get to the airport, they were like scanning you. It was like totally crazy, right? And in the end, when they actually in the Western countries found out that bird flu is not dangerous at all, the common flu is more dangerous than the bird flu, then government announced like there was such a horrible threat, and we protected you from that threat. So everybody's like, when I was talking to my translators, like, yeah, our government maybe it's not perfect, but look, they are very successfully protecting us. They protect us when there's such a horrible threat. I said, no, they first told you that this is a threat, and then nothing happened, and they said, look, we protected you from this threat. And so that's what you are saying about the terrorism. Actually, like, we created such a bad terrorist, and now we're protecting you. Cool. Nothing happened. You see, all because of us. Thanks to us.
Good point. Problem, reaction, solution. When you see a big event, where they're saying, you can look at it in that way. What's the who's created a problem? What's the reaction, and what solution are they pushing forward? And it could be that the solution was the end result, and those two other things, the problem and reaction, were created to for the solution. We just don't know usually, but it could happen.
I want to mention that, don't you think that you just mentioned many things, for example, like security measures at the airport, right? There is like a restriction for gatherings and all this stuff. For example, like in European Union, you British, you didn't sign it, but there's like Lisbon Treaty, which states directly that the government can use the army against any kind of gathering, on the territory of European Union, and the soldiers who will fire the crowd and they kill anybody won't get any responsibility for that. They are not responsible for killing people, actually. For killing people, and that is what we signed. Like all the countries around the Europe, except Great Britain and stuff, because you are from a little bit apart. We signed it. Everybody signed it. So this is something is going. We actually don't see it. We don't see it.
Comentatus is that law where the military shouldn't get involved in civilian affairs.
And so they just put together, for example, things like you said, security measures at the airport. Me personally, I can accept. It's not that a big deal to me, but at the same time, because we put together some different things, so we focus our attention, for example, on security measures at the airport, and other more important things like threatening us more, like more deeply, than the security measures at the airport, just pass by, unnoticed. We don't notice that. Like, boom, for example, we have ACTA, all this stuff, when they were talking about the freedom in internet. Actually, it wasn't about that. It's about the GMO. When you control the market of the food, genetically modified food, and then it's a problem of medicines, all this stuff. But everybody was so focused on internet, they're protesting against that. But they just put it, you focus on internet, so that if you protest, people maybe say, no, you protest because you want to have a free music and free porns, right? And then, so we just ridicule it. And actually it's not about that, it's about the food and the medicines, because who controls the food controls the world, right? So don't you think that just put together many things just to make the entire vision very dim?
Yeah, you can have, I guess I see you can possibly have this kind of situation where one is a diversion, it's something seen as a diversion, and then, or maybe, hey, we're just going to mention this, and it's actually a very important thing. Hey, but look at this, NBA star, baseball, famous actor, film, movie, and or do you believe in gay marriage? But this really important thing is getting ignored. So who knows what politicians, how they, the big geostrategists sort of work, but I'm sure there's some truth in there.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, what's your thought about this? Is my belief is that the government, most governments, actually don't want to put the effort into intelligence, into analysis of threats. They prefer we regulate ourselves, so we're always watching each other more than the government doing it themselves. I mean, there's a theory about the panoptica, where you look through. There's like one guy in the middle, and all these windows going down into the cells of a prison, and this guy can only see one person at a time. But we can regulate ourselves a lot more easier, and I think governments are trying to do that, and I think they're hiding that through different ways. I mean, I'm not too sure how, but I feel like that's what they're trying to get at, is that we do the work,
Yeah.
and we control each other. Sometimes the devastating effects.
I agree with you. I think, well, we're looking at recently these mandates from the Department of Homeland Security, which says if you say it, see it. You see, you have these, and then you have these FBI. I'll post it. I've posted one on there. These FBI mandates where you're encouraged to spy on the people, report suspicious behaviour. I mean, but what, you know, suspicious terrorist behaviour. But what seems as suspicious terrorist behaviour could be something as mundane as paying for, and you've got it here in you've got in the FBI done. Does he pay for cash in an internet cafe? Does he pay for cash or credit card? Well, if you pay for cash or credit card, how else are you going to pay? I mean, or does he hide the monitor in here, or and these very quite mundane things? You see, like I agree with you, encouraged to. There could be this sort of climate where you're encouraged to spy on people, and the other person thinks, yeah, I'm great, I'm doing this for my country, I'm protecting my country.
They become part of the TV show that's called The World.
Okay, I don't know.
I'm just
Oh,
saying.
okay, yeah.
They think they're part of this TV show or
Yeah.
something. I'm gonna be the guy on 24. I'm gonna be Jack Brewer.
That's
I'm gonna
right.
solve the crime.
But really, it's an old age sort of, you know, a lot of these, the North Koreans and I think Chinese and Russians have encouraged this kind of internal spying, Nazis as well, to spy on each other as a form of control. So
Chinese are great. Chinese are the best in the world. Really, this is the situation which was actually reported by Chinese official television. I saw it on TV. The one guy made a like experiment. You know how the people are spied. You know that because there's a problem of selling the personal information. Because if you go to the hotel, they always scan your passport or scan your ID card, everything, right? And they were like, if they really protect it and ask the people, no, we don't give anybody. But then you get a lot of like emails, all the stuff, like your cell phone is just always, jammed with all this text messages. And the one guy just made an incredible experiment, like very simple. He was just traveling, to one city, was in Nanjing, I guess, came to a couple of hotels, like 1 week. Every day was in different hotels. Then he found a company who is they are just detectives, just working for. And he said, I want you to collect information about the guy, bam, 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 and he gave his own name. They didn't even ask him for